Hello, this is Mr. Cozy, and this is video 47, finding inverses from equations. So we are going to look at an equation for a function and find the inverse for it. So all aboard the K train! Woo woo! Let's go. So let's suppose we have a function f of x equals 2x minus 1. This is a line, so it is a 1-to-1 function. How do I find its inverse? Well, the principle that we talked about yesterday is the same. To find an inverse, you exchange x and y values. And it's the same idea even if it's an equation. Now, remember that f of x, whatever we get out of a function, we call y. So let's replace f of x with y. And then to find the inverse, we simply exchange the x and the y values. So I exchange x and y in my equation. And then I just solve for y. So plus 1 plus 1, x plus 1 equals 2y. Divide each side by 2. And I get y equals x plus 1 over 2. I could also write it as 1/2 x plus 1/2. Write it as two fractions instead of 1. Either way works. And this is f inverse. Okay. Let's look at another one. Let's look at f of x equals x to the third plus 3. Okay? So that f of x is my y value. And to find the inverse, excuse me, I exchange x and y. And then I just solve for y. So minus 3 minus 3. X minus 3 equals y cubed. To get rid of the cube, I take a cube root. So I get the cube root of x minus 3 equals y. So that's f inverse. F inverse of x is the cube root of x minus 3. Okay? Let's look at one more. Let's look at f of x equals x minus 1 over 2x plus 3. Now this gets a little bit tricky because when I exchange x and y, I'm going to end up with y in two different places. Okay. Now I still want to solve for y, but my problem is that y is in two different places. The common technique that we tend to use when the thing that we want to solve for is in several different places is to factor. So what I'm going to do is manipulate this equation so that I can factor out a y. Step 1 is to get rid of this fraction. So I'm going to multiply 2y plus 3 to both sides. Okay, and that is going to cancel out my fraction. Okay, so that at least all of my y's are on the same line of the equation. My next step is to get all of my y's on one side and everything else on the other. So I need to distribute this x. And then every term that has a y in it, I will put on one side, let's say on the left, and I'll put everything else on the right side. So this y term needs to go over to the left, and this x term needs to go over to the right. So that I have 2xy minus y equals negative 3x minus 1. The reason why I want to collect all of my y terms onto one side is because I can now factor out this y as a greatest common factor because it appears in every term. I can factor out the y. I have 2x, careful, I have 2x minus 1 left over. When you factor, you never ever lose a term. If you factor everything out of a term, 1 is left over all the time. So I factored out that y, and now I can divide it to the other side. And that is F inverse. Okay? So the principle of finding an inverse is the same if we have an equation instead of a graph or a table. We exchange all of the x and y values. All right? Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. We will practice this tomorrow. Have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.